How many Autobots does it take to run this operation?
Our systems are controlled by a proactive cybernetic interface program. We call it TIE, which is short for Tactical Artificial Intelligence.
Hello, Optimus. I see you've brought along a visitor.
Yes, TIE. This is my friend Koji, Dr. Onishi's son.
Nice to meet you, Koji. Any friend of Optimus is a friend of mine. I'm Tai, Tactical Artificial Intelligence System, daughter of the Teletron 1 computer program.
Nice to meet you too, Ty.
Sorry, I should have told you. I'm a holographic projection, not a physical entity.
Huh?
I'm a proactive, self-initializing program that constantly scans the entire planet in order to alert the Autobots if it looks like the Predacons are up to something.
Now here we're given a formal introduction to TIE, the Autobots' tactical intelligence computer. You will notice there is a name drop here. She refers to herself as the daughter of the Teletron 1 program. That's a reference to the original cartoon back in the 80s. The ARC, which served as the Autobot base for the first 2 seasons, was run by an artificial intelligence program called Teletran 1. It's a fairly minor character, if you will. I don't believe it's actually sentient. And of course, it doesn't transform or anything, so there's no toy of it. TIE, on the other hand, seems like she may actually be an artificial intelligence. Presumably, she doesn't have a spark crystal, unless there's one stuck in a wall somewhere. But she seems to be sentient, unlike most computers. Most Transformers shows, it's not uncommon for there to be a sort of shipboard or computer of some kind. But it's usually more in the Star Trek version. If you've ever seen the Next Generation era shows, where the computer is capable of talking and interacting, but it's not actually sentient. TIE, on the other hand, actually seems to be capable of basic emotions and even decision-making processes. Yes, she does follow orders, but then all of the Autobots follow Optimus's orders, so she's not any different than they are. And they're all robots too, of course. We don't actually know if they have spark crystals. Presumably they do. I think it's technically understood, but Robots in Disguise never really shows it or talks about it. It just kind of goes unmentioned. So presumably TIE doesn't have one, of course. It's interesting. She's the only computer that I'm aware of in Transformers to use a holographic avatar, and you'd think Koji would realize that that's what she was, seeing her materialize in front of him like that. But apparently he thinks she's a real girl or something. Or possibly he's seen Star Trek Voyager and thinks she's a hard-light hologram. In any which case, the reaction is a very Red Dwarf Rimmer hologram reaction.
Wait, just look at that paint job! Not to mention those custom wheels. Very classy. Hello, you beautiful sports car. I'd share my garage with you anytime.
That guy's nuts. He's talking to my car.
You move like a dream, and the purr of your engine is music to my ears.
Go listen to somebody else's engine.
Hey, wait a minute. You don't understand. Can't we talk about this? Come on, have a heart, will ya?
Now here we're once again subjected to Sideburn's flirting. Like I said, this is a running gag throughout Robots in Disguise, especially in the first half. And it's a bit bizarre. As I've mentioned before, there are no female Transformers ever seen in Robots in Disguise. Doesn't mean they don't exist technically, but we never see them. They're never mentioned. But the Autobots still seem to be aware of the concept of flirting, which suggests that there probably are female Transformers out there. However, his flirting with an Earth car would seem to be the equivalent of a human flirting with a mannequin. After all, it's not a robot, it's not sentient, it doesn't have a real computer on it, maybe computer chips, depending on how modern the car is, but it has absolutely no type of personality programming. And in fact, Sideburn doesn't necessarily seem to differentiate between the car and the driver. He'll often react to Kelly as if she's the car talking. And it's a bit difficult to tell if he's actually aware that humans drive cars and they're not part of the car. Either way, this gets very old very quickly. Fortunately, we're not the only people annoyed by this. So is his older brother Prowl.
Enough of the fun and games, Sideburn. We've got work to do.
All right, I was just taking a little break to, well, introduce myself.
We're on full-time emergency patrol, remember? No breaks allowed until we catch those battery thieves.
But we've been out here for days and haven't seen a thing. How are we supposed to find these guys?
By covering as much ground as we can. Now let's get back to it.
That little red sports car could be their next target. I'd better follow her.
Ha! As far as I could tell, the only one targeting that little red sports car is you, little brother.
Hey, a bot's gotta rev up his engine once in a while. Besides, I'm not the only one having a little fun. X-Brawn is too. Here, check him out.
He's not climbing it for fun. It'll be easier to spot the Predacons from up there.
Man, oh man, my poor aching tires. You'd think whoever built this here contraption would have at least put in a freight elevator. Prowl, when I get down from here, you're gonna owe me a new set of shocks.
Now this scene is a call back to the first episode. You remember that X-Brawn is supposed to be a kind of off-road cowboy wilderness type, and that he likes to climb mountains. This is again another running gag throughout the show, is that X-Brawn will constantly climb buildings. In fact, as you remember, he even attempted in the Japanese version to fool Slapper into thinking that he thought skyscrapers were mountains. So here again we see him climbing. I don't know how realistic this really is. I kind of feel that probably, again, we could argue that being an alien robot, X-Brawn has superior mobility and therefore can actually make these turns up these stairs without driving off. But would they actually hold someone of his weight?
Come on, there's nothing to worry about. Hey, you gotta loosen up, bro. You keep surging like that and your transmission will wear out.
You leave my transmission out of this!
Whoa! Hey, come on, man. I'm just trying to have some fun. Hey, watch it!
Now this is also one of the reasons why Sideburn was quite unpopular, at least early on in the series. Basically, again, his character is admittedly a bit more narcissistic and self-serving, and he's very much obsessed with having fun. Yes, the Predacons may have invaded the Earth, humans' lives may be in danger, but that doesn't mean Sideburn can't have some fun. And if handled right, this would have been fine. Cheetor's an example of this being handled well. The character does like to have fun, but not in a dangerous battle situation. He's serious and down to business, hot-headed, but he's here, he's present, he's in the now. Sideburn, the way his character is written, is portrayed that he doesn't want to help anyone. He's not interested in defending the Earth. Now, the only thing he wants to do is go off and have a good time, all of the time. And it gets to be quite grating, especially when these are supposed to be our heroic Autobots. Even more so if you came off of here watching Beast Wars and Beast Machines, where the Autobots and Decepticons were talked about and treated as if they were near mythical warriors. And then they have Sideburn here. It's quite the letdown from the build-up, if you will, unintentionally, that the Beast Wars era gave the original Autobots and Decepticons. Now, granted, these aren't the original Autobots. But still, this is, for most people, this is their modern introduction to Autobots. The 80s was, 2 decades ago almost at this point. Decade and a half, anyway. So for most people nowadays, unless you were a kid back in the 80s, this was the first time you were really introduced to Autobots. And it's not exactly a shining example of the most an Autobot can be.
We must find a new source of energy. Our mobile command center has been stuck here in the same spot for too long. The only way we can keep its existence a secret from the Autobots is by constantly changing its location. But our voyage to Earth used up almost all of our energy to power our trans-warp cells.
You know, it probably also helped to keep it a secret if you turned off the blinking lights on it. It's probably sure to attract someone's attention. Minor thing here, trans-warp cell's another call-out. That term actually comes from Beast Wars. A trans-warp cell is kind of the equivalent of a warp core, I guess. It's how the Transformers power their trans-warp drive, which allows them interstellar travel. It's not important. It's just dropped in as a little Easter egg by the American version of the show.